mics are like the ladies, hot.
Starting off hot.
Get the dad jokes in early. All right, Awesemo, here we go. It's your old pal, Emac. I like having this little hot mic section. It just makes me laugh. Pretty much everything makes me laugh, but then me hearing myself laugh makes me laugh. It's the unstoppable combination there. But we're ready for a little MLB Live Before Lock. We have a 10-game main slate. I am joined by your friend and mine, the one and only Anthony Gundacker. What's going on, Gun?
Happy Saturday. I was just saying before we went live, there's no NBA to steal some of my attention as I try to double dip at lock. So we have full concentration on MLB for the first Saturday night in a while. And then it's probably going to be taken from us next Saturday, but it'll be back.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild one next week, back into the NBA grind. Tomorrow we have massive NBA slates. We're going to do 2 live before locks, one before the 1 o'clock lock. I think there's half a dozen games or so that are going on that slate. And then the remainder of the teams are going to be going at 7 o'clock. There's also a healthy 9 o'clock slate because every team is playing today. And I wish I would remember the person's name in chat that put this in, but for the first time since basically right around Thanksgiving of forget it was 2015 or 2016, every NBA team is playing on the same day. If you guys remember previously, they usually just sort of feathered out the last couple days of the season and not everybody played at once. That was more of a football and a baseball thing, but they're jumping in and doing that this round. So tonight we've got 10 games. Looks like we're going to escape any weather issues. We will be going, of course, game by game. But I do want to remind everybody we have a very nice promo going on. It is the Gold Rush promo. So the promo code is Gold Rush, all one word. And what you get with that, well, you get 25% off 1 month of Awesemo premium content. Now that works out perfectly because, as we mentioned, NHL playoffs are starting tonight. We've got NBA playoffs in the mix. We've got MLB. We've got everything going on right now. MMA. It's just NASCAR. If there's a sport out there, it's going on right now, with the exception of the NFL. It seems like. So this is the perfect time to jump in. That'll get you the next couple UFC main cards. You'll get I believe there's a golf major coming up in all this. It's a great time to jump in. But that's promo code. I almost said promo code Gundacker. It's promo code Gold Rush. But yeah, don't use promo code Gundacker. We have to charge extra with that one. But we'll get you 25% off with the promo code Gold Rush. All right, the 2 weather spots I sort of was mentioning, Kansas City at Chicago. It's just going to be kind of cold there. Looks like there's really not going to be any issue with the rain. It never really materialized. And then in the Colorado Coors Field, there's still some concerns that there might be lightning in the area. That could cause a delay. But the actual precipitation shouldn't be an issue. It's just how close does lightning happen to the stadium. Each stadium has slightly different rules, but usually it's if there's a strike within 5 miles of X, then you have to wait for a certain amount of time. Now, that's the Little League rules in this area. I don't know what it is for sure for Major League, but it's something along those lines. And before we jump in, a reminder, we've got the MLB Top Stacks tool is free today. The NBA player rankings, well, they were free. Those contests are over. The NHL Top Stacks is free today. And then the MMA fighter rankings are free as well. I know the MMA card locks here in 23 minutes, and then there's also the primetime card over there on DraftKings, but you can look at that stuff for free. All right, Anthony, let's go in. I'm turning this one loose to you right away. We've got Domingo Germán going into Baltimore against Jorge Lopez. I'm gonna say one. What? And I had Terry on before. Oh, I have you and Terry and Max, 3 shows in a row, the 3 New York fans. So here's my question. Why the hell does New York not have more left-handed batters traditionally when they have that short porch? And 2, which doesn't really matter for tonight, but 2, what's going on with Domingo Germán? I had thought he would be popping up in the models and on the radars, and he's really not at this point. He's getting minimal popularity.
So when it comes to lefties, we've definitely tried to have our lefties. We've tried Mike Talkman. We've given Mike Ford opportunities. They just don't work out. We tend to lean on Aaron Hicks as a switch hitter.
And
but
Brett
he got
Gardner,
injured.
who would be Michael A. Taylor.
Exactly.
Any other
Yeah.
stadium.
So eventually they just said, screw it. Let's just go get righties, like hit homers everywhere. And then DJ LeMahieu has really evolved into a great opposite field hitter. So we've been able to beat it. With that said, it's another time of the year where the Yankees are getting stunned by injuries or COVID. Yesterday, we saw 4 of our best bats out: Stanton, Torres, Urshela, and Hicks. Urshela actually had to pinch hit and hit himself a 3-run shot that gave the Yankees the win on top of Judge's 2 bombs. In terms of Herman, I never thought Herman was anything as special as like maybe the public perception was. Him and like Jordan Montgomery tend to get overvalued, I think. Herman is just kind of like a guy that I hope can eat 5 or 6 innings and give the offense a shot at the win. But that said, it's not like his xFIP and it's not like he's a bad pitcher. He's just not like an elite pitcher. He's going to throw you a whole lot of I think fastball, curveballs. So if he can live by those 2 pitches, eat 5 innings, hand the ball over to the bullpen, it is what it is. So I don't know. I was never really a buyer into him as a front end pitcher. With that said, I think against the Orioles, there is certainly a bunch of strikeout propensity in this lineup. And at 7,900 on DraftKings, there's a range of outcomes where you can sneak into 20 DKP if he gets held up by a wind. He's not one of my pitchers. Actually, he is one of my pitchers in my pool today, but he's right now, him and Nola are like my lowest percentage exposed pitcher. So I'm going to have some, but it's not like I'm excited about it.
Okay. And I had looked at it earlier using the odd shopper just to check out his strikeout props. And he was around 5.5, which is kind of interesting and makes sense. And Terry, watches all the Yankees games, been following him for as long as you have. He was saying, about the same thing you did. He's just not the perception on Herman is different than the reality, but it's kind of funny. In his last 5 games, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, and 5 strikeouts. So right around that mark. And you're right, he's kind of getting there with the 20 DraftKings points. So it makes him viable as a secondary pitcher, but probably not a targeted one. We're looking at 10% popularity. I've decided to match the field on that one. If we look to the other side, we want to talk about Jorge Lopez here. Jorge Lopez has issues against lefties. He's okay against righties, but he's horrible against lefties. He has since the beginning of 2019, he has a 250 ISO, 2.3 home run per 9. And that's horrible numbers. Now, the Yankees don't have a ton of lefties. That's sort of where I was asking that question off the top, but they do have plenty of righties with power. Lopez gives up power to fly ball hitting righties, which is, of course, what is populated in the Yankees lineup. So he's a ground ball pitcher, but for those that have that uppercut or that looping swing, if they can get it in the ball into the air, he has a 17.8% home run to fly ball rate against righties since 2019. So what's that saying is basically is 1 out of every 5 fly balls, not a pop-up, not a designated fly ball, is going out of the park. So that's a 1.5 home run per 9. So this kind of bodes well for the Yankees. Where the Yankees are, in my opinion, is they are one of the 2 antidotes that I'm looking at to go opposite of Coors Field tonight. Anything else you want to highlight from this one?
So the Yankees offense has really not been that consistent. They've been consistently inconsistent. Like I said, some of the more better options for them, like Stanton and Glaber, are not available. Gio Urshela might be playing through an injury right now. Judge, of course, yesterday showed that he can hit, but I have seen a lot of people excited to play Yankees, and that's just kind of what happens every slate. Ironic that I'm the guy that's saying,
I was just going to say, why are you the cold bucket of reality here?
The 5 through 9, the cliff is a deep one. Gary, Gardy, Frazier, Andujar, Tyler Wade. I mean, that is not pretty. So if I am going to land on Yankees, it's going to be top heavy. And at that point, it's going to be 4 guys and why stack? Why not just sprinkle them in my other stacks at that point? So, yeah, the light switch could flip, and we know Andahar historically has shown some power, but in the last 2 seasons, the sample size, it has not been pretty. Tyler Wade, never really a power hitter himself. Frazier's been hit or miss, and we all know what we get from Brett Gardner and Gary being the wild card there. I think Gary's a little interesting on FanDuel, 2,800 versus 5,100 on DraftKings. A literal chip in a chair on FanDuel, but DK, that's $5K. We just assume put that salary into a Reds or a Dunedin game exposure or something like that.
All right, let's continue on here. Some of these games go a little bit more quickly, but we'll be looking for some offense, and that is why we spent a little bit of time on that one. Getting up to too many tabs. I have 4 tabs open. I'm only supposed to have 3. This is unfair. Unfair for the viewer while I get this squared away. So our next game, we have Texas at Houston. The roof will be closed tonight. We have Luis H. Garcia taking the mound here for the Astros. The Texans have just a 3.9 implied run total. If you start to go down and look at their lineup, you'll realize why. That came up a little bit throughout the day because Joey Gallo is now in the starting lineup. He was a little questionable beforehand, but they're going to have him, Willie Calhoun, David Dahl, who's started off the season incredibly cold. So they have, and Nate Lowe, they have some decent pop in their bats. However, Luis Garcia actually has decent strikeout stuff. It's not a name we are absolutely familiar with, well, other than the fact that there's 3 Luis Garcias in the league, or there were last season. 2 of them are still in the majors this year. But this is why we have Luis H. Garcia, Luis A. Garcia, and then Luis Garcia were the other 2. So this one's kind of interesting. I really like him. He's actually going to be probably one of my top 3 pitchers percentage-wise. Of course, I'm going to default Bauer up near the top. We'll talk about that. But I really, really like Garcia. Dane Dunning, on the other hand, he's been a solid pitcher starting. I mean, we only have a little bit of a track record for him here, but he's been relatively solid. To me, this feels kind of like an all or nothing Houston stack. I really don't want one-offs from their team. If he's going to implode, I'd rather go big, maybe get to the bullpen, but otherwise he's outpitched my expectations. Short sample size, of course. What do you like from this battle for Texas?
So I'm in agreement on Dane Dunning being he's overperforming based on early expectations on the season, and the metrics say he's even better than he has been performing. A 3.78 ERA is higher than his Sierra xFIP, and his other underlying metrics, that 55% ground ball rate, stuff like that. It's all saying Dane Dunning is #good. At 6,800, I'd be running to play these metrics and an opportunity at that price, but it's the Houston Astros, and this is amongst the toughest matchups you'll get in terms of trying to scratch and claw for those strikeouts. So I'm just kind of hoping Dane Dunning doesn't break the slate with a 30 bomb. But on another slate against probably 25 other teams, I'd be running to these metrics at that price point. Garcia's metrics, at least his advanced stuff, show some regression in his future, and a really, really high fly ball rate with a xFIP at 4.46. So his ERA is kind of doing better than the xFIP, but it's in line with the Sierra. I haven't decided on whether right now I don't have him in my low tier pitcher pool, but it's not necessarily saying that I don't like him. It's just I try to keep that pitcher pool a little bit tight, and yeah, the Rangers give you plenty of reason to attack them. 2 through 6 in this order all strike out between 22 and 35% against righties, so there's plenty of strikeouts there. They are in the middle of guys like Calhoun, Kiner Falefa, Ibanez, and Heim, who don't boast as high strikeout rates, but they have nothing to fear. Like their WOBA, slugging, all that stuff's really low as well. So I got no qualms with going Garcia, and I might do a late addition in your honor, Emac, and maybe that'll split my Herman ownership.
All right. So when it comes down to the bats, not a lot to like in this one, other than, as I mentioned, full stack for Houston, just because they're so tough up and down the lineup, even without banging on garbage cans. All right, we've got a few more things we want to touch on here. Next game was the other potential weather spot. It's just going to be cold in Chicago. It looks like the drizzle is going to be away from the stadium if it even materializes. Indications are that that's not going to happen. We have Mike Minor going against fellow lefty Carlos Rodon. How are you feeling about Rodon in this one? He's starting to put it all together. He's got some excellent numbers. Not as easy of a matchup as Trevor Bauer, but he would be the key pivot away from Bauer if you're only making a handful of lineups. They're two of my favorite pitchers tonight. Of course, they're probably two of the best on the slate, so nothing saying there, but I like to play 150, 200 lineups. They're both going to be, I've set the caps at 60 and 40. That's going to be a little bit different. I'm waiting for one more run to come through, but I'm going super heavy on these guys. And I'm going to have to go look and see what this is doing to my stacks, because you will still get, if you're using these optimizers, you're still going to get the 4-4 Coors Field double stack with these guys. It's just not going to be the people you want to see as your hitters in Coors Field. So you just have to be careful with that. What do you like in this one? Is it mostly pitching? Can you consider Mike Minor against a somewhat difficult White Sox lineup against lefties, even missing Eloy Jimenez and Luis Robert?
No, I love White Sox against lefties, so I'll be way more on the White Sox offense side. As far as Carlos Rodon, like, these numbers are really, really elite. This is going to be a back-to-back start against the Royals, so sometimes I do worry about catching him, twice in a week, and they do have like a fresh mind on what to look for. With that said, so far so good. I mean, 16.8% swing and strike rate. That's as good as it comes on starting pitchers. And the one thing I would be watching as we get into a deeper sample size, deeper into the season, as the strength of schedule starts to get a little tougher for Rodon, is that walk rate. He's at 7.6% right now. He's always been living above 10%, which has raised his whip, which has created opportunity for the big inning, kind of like Erod from the Red Sox. Like, I would be watching that, because he pitches for the strikeout. With that said, we love guys that will pitch for the strikeout. That's why we play DFS. But the Royals lineup today, the confirmed lineup, I've got Merrifield, Santana, Salvi, Hanser Alberto, and Nicky Lopez all strike out under 19%, except Salvi. Salvi's at 19.2, and the other guys are 16% and less. So it's not free strikeout. He's going to have to go out there and get them. And because of those low strikeout rates, if he's going to stay committed to hunt the strikeout, it's probably going to burn a lot of pitches. So I'd be worried about that. And at that price range, it's very easy to just say, all right, Bauer's the better upper echelon guy. With that said, there's no way I would go into the slate without some Rodon. I have him right now as in my second tier with like Ian Anderson and Wainwright. But I got Bauer a step above him for sure. And then the White Sox offense. This is just a team that death taxes White Sox against lefties. They just profile extremely well, even without Robert and Eloy Jimenez. I mean, Andrew Vaughn is looking like a really, really solid power play. He's actually at the top of my home run model. Yerman Mercedes, we've seen him evolve into a big time bat, especially against lefties. And we already know what Anderson and Abreu can do. So I'm always in on the White Sox against a lefty. Might worry about the temperatures being a little bit nippy and, not as hitter friendly, but I will certainly be an investor on the White Sox.
All right, let's continue along, making solid time here. Game 4, we got 7 to go. The Andersons are squaring off. Oh, that just reminded me of the commercial. The Andersons are going to the game. How did they get tickets for the game? Well, they bought them. That's how they got them. Ian Anderson, righty, is going against Milwaukee. Low implied run total for both sides here, just a touch under 4 for both teams. On the other side, you've got lefty Brett Anderson, who actually does a pretty good job of keeping the bases clean, induces a fair amount of fly ball warning track outs, but he does not strike anyone out. Anthony, we may have actually our swinging strike rate is almost where his is. I believe Terry told me this morning it's 3.3 or something this year.
Yeah, it's 3.3%. And even if you think it gets better, like, he's lived at 7.5% the last 3 seasons. So even if he like doubled his swinging strike rate, it would still be like below like Bartolo Colon's last 5 years. So he's pitching to contact, and I would say lucky for him, there's not a guy like Ronald Acuna as the first guy he's got to pitch against. But good luck against like Marcell Ozuna, right? Hey, I'm gonna let you hit this ball and see what happens. And we know Austin Riley, guys like that have some power as well. So definitely be looking at the Braves in this park to make some contact. Hey, it's baseball. The ground ball rate's really high. He's pitching the contact on purpose. So maybe, he lives, but because of, like yesterday, I liked Kyle Schwarber because he's a high strikeout guy, but when he does make contact, it's powerful. That's kind of how I feel about Ozuna here. A 26% K rate against lefties gets a little bit neutralized when the guy has a 3% swing and strike rate, and Austin Riley has a 36% strikeout rate against lefties, but that also gets neutralized. So those two could chip in a chair for a bomb against a contact pitcher. So as far as Ian Anderson, I actually will be playing some Ian Anderson. I have him in my second tier with the aforementioned Rodon and the foreshadow of Adam Wainwright. 9,200 on DK, 86 on FanDuel. I think that's a proper price for what he's offering. His ERA is in line with his underlying metrics. Sierra xFIP sitting at 3.76 on the Sierra, 3.13 on the xFIP, and a 12.4% swing and strike rate. This Brewers team is not great. Colton Wong, the only batter on this team with a sub 20% carry rate against righties. Everyone else about 1-4, 1-5, and a guy like Travis Shaw actually gives you almost a 1-3. So definitely some strikeout potential here for Ian Anderson. So I'll definitely be invested in him. If I wanted to pick on Ian Anderson, he does have a power problem here and there against lefties, a 1.5 home run per night against lefties this year. So maybe a guy like Daniel Vogelbach, maybe an Omar Narvaez is a discount catcher or something like that, but definitely not front end or any warm and fuzzy clicks there. But to surmise Anderson, yes, and a couple Braves bets.
All right, what bit am I stealing? I've got to know this.
When I do my NBA shows, I do bits for like certain players. So I used to do Ryan Anderson. The Andersons got tickets to the game. How'd they get tickets? And then when Rhino got moved out, I then gave that bit to Kyle Anderson of the Grizzlies. So then when you did it, I was like, oh, that's my thing. But
what are the odds of that? This is why we're a good match. I just remember seeing that on all the NBA League Pass commercial timeouts. You're just like, just please play me a different commercial. This one's funny, but not 100 times in the night.
Yep.
All right. Oh, that is rich. That is rich. Would you stack either teams, or is this more a little home run hunting for you?
So I it depends on how many lines I was getting to. I was getting to 150. Like if we're looking at the Awesemo top stacks tool ownership projection, looks like the Atlanta Braves are sitting at 0.6%. So why not grab 2% and be over the field? I'm not that enamored with the Brewers. But I'll take some Braves. Like even without Acuna, I can see Freeman, Ozuna, Albies, Swanson, Riley. Like I see those guys come through. So I would say sure, just because you don't have to do much to leverage the field.
All right. This next one, now we're going to start transitioning into the hitting games. So this one is Philadelphia at Toronto. However, this game is in Florida. It is in TD Ballpark. It is the Toronto Blue Jays minor league spring training facility. Their single A minor league team plays there, as does the local high school. Go Falcons. But it's while it's a nice park for those teams, it's a little bit smaller than the regular major league parks. So interestingly enough, we've got Aaron Nola here. Fair amount of respect for him, even though we know the conditions of this park. It's just a 4.4 implied run total going against him. I'm on the fence with him. He's a good pitcher, great curveball, but hey, we get the original great curveball, at least of this generation and the last generation in Waino a little bit later. I'm kind of landing there. You've got Anthony K going for Toronto here. Philadelphia, the nice thing about them is even their lefties, particularly Harper and Didi Gregorius, both are well above average against fellow lefties. A lot of times gamers don't like to take lefty-lefty matchups, but that's not really an issue for them at all. What are you – start us off with the pitching. You kind of mentioned Nola as one of your last guys in. Do you feel with where the leverage is going that it's even worth messing with this ballpark? I have him set at 5%.
Yeah, so my tier 3 guys are all just like I cap them at 10%. Okay. Sometimes that means I have nobody. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like I could have 1%.
Right, they may not make it into your lineup. You've just capped them. That's kind of what I do as well.
Yeah, so looks like he's sitting at 10, 13% ownership. That's fine. Like if I capped him at 10, I wouldn't even feel like I need to go get that extra 3%. It's just one of those, I'm probably walking the tightrope here, playing both sides. Like I'm going to have Blue Jay stacks. This park could explode at any second. It's 80 degrees out there in Dunedin. We've seen this game turn into a football game, or the stadium turn into a football game. So absolutely fine with playing both sides of the fence here. I would say just like at 10-3 on Aaron Nola. Just kind of considering what the ranges of outcomes for him to be, maybe a top 2, top 3 pitcher just to get me to the top. $1,000 discount to Bauer. His game log kind of tells the story, right? Range of outcomes, you can get less than 20, but it can get you 30, 48. And that's just kind of the risk, the risk you guys are going to have to put out there. This matchup strikeout wise, I got Hernandez, Grichuk, Kevin Biggio, Gurriel, and Rowdy Tellez all at over 20% K rates in this matchup, and the rest are a little bit harder to strike out. So it's not freebie by any stretch of the imagination. Maybe the FanDuel price a little bit more alluring at 8-8, but still, like I said, sometimes the ballpark does just enough for me to not be overly invested. But I wouldn't talk no one off the plank. I think his metrics are just fine, and it seems like every 5 days there's a Twitter debate on whether or not Aaron Nola is an ace. So we'll get ready for those. Nola is or is not an ace tonight, depending on what the score is in the 5th inning.
Let's see here. Oh, I see someone was asking, is back to Rodon, is he on a pitch count? No, he's not. Remember, he did have that no-hitter. He actually was scheduled to start on Thursday. They pushed him back a couple days. I think it was probably a result of the no-hitter. Those are some heavy stressor pitches because everyone counts, and you're putting your all into it when you get that close. So a lot of times we'll see pitchers kind of in their next start or two just you can tell they've been a little overworked, just because even though the pitch count might be 120 or 130 and it's not egregious, it's pretty stressful, and that's why they call them stress or pitches. I don't anticipate any issues on that. There's no, with how their team is shaping up there this year, there's no reason to put him out there if he would be at any risk. Will he maybe only go 6 or 7 innings? Sure. But I think 90, 100 pitches is pretty reasonable expectation there on that one. All righty. Coors Field. Your friend and mine, Yolis Chassin, is back in our lives. Do you know what the minimum salary for pitchers is on DraftKings?
I thought it was 4K, but evidently it's not.
They have pushed it down for Yolis Chassin to 3,900. So I was telling this story earlier. So when he was in Coors Field, he always said he loved pitching in Coors Field. Well, it was like 5 years ago, 5 teams later. Now he's back. He's probably only going to go about 40 or 50 pitches. That's sort of around the range. We've seen him like 30 or 40 in most of these. But he says, I love pitching in Coors Field. I think he loves getting the checks to pitch in Coors Field, because you can't. I was in Coors. What did you expect for an ERA, right? So hat tip to him. But let's take some hitters against him. Then you got Tyler Mahle, who's actually coming into about 10% of my lineups. I capped it there. I think he is a good pitcher. If this was a warm, hot day in Colorado, I wouldn't go anywhere near it. I don't think I'm getting cute, and I probably will back off a little bit because I didn't even expect him to hit 10% on these. But it seems like the way the lineups are constructing, he's coming in relatively early. How do you feel about Mahle? And then how do you feel about the remainder of the hitters?
Yeah, so Mahle's kind of in that like Nola bucket for me, where the park is kind of pushing me backwards. But at the same time, Mahle's home park is a great hitter's park as well. So it's not like he's not got experience with having to deal with hitter-friendly elements. Rockies just haven't been the team to pitch against the last couple of days, even as watered down as these lineups come out. We saw a lineup without Story the other day. Today it's going to be without Charlie Blackmon. But I just don't feel like I'm getting the warm and fuzzies here, and I'm not sure how often Mahle is the absolute stone cold nuts to take down a tournament. I currently don't have him like in my pitcher pool, but like looking at these metrics, I understand why you would. Looking at his particular pitch mix for Mahle, I'm looking at fastball, slider, and was that a splitter, sinker? So the fastball slider is 1 and 2 pitches. The slider might act a little bit differently here. So I'm probably just not there. But I don't think you're crazy to be there. Reds offense, absolutely something I love a lot. Jesse Winker is one of my highest owned bats on the slate, even at 6K. I just love the spot for him. I love lefties against Chassin. And yeah, Chassin is is somebody that can turn into a gas can really, really quick. So hopefully the Reds finally live up to some expectation here. And this is one of my more favorite Reds lineups that they rolled out, considering the matchup, getting 3 lefties, not named Votto in the top 5. So I do like that. And even India has had a couple of Coors Field homers in the last couple of days, so I don't mind him either. But it's really the 1 through 5 I like the most from the Reds offense. And then the thing that sticks out the most about the Rockies is some of these guys' prices are just not budging. Connor Joe's been like a fun play. He kind of reminds me of Jared Kelenic, where like these guys' ownerships keep going high, and like for whatever reason the algorithm's not adjusting. Not to mention it's cores, but their ownership should just be enough to kind of like drive them up a little bit. Jonathan Daza was a good play for me yesterday. He's 2,500. So it's not even like we're getting discounted prices for cores, and these are discounted prices for just about any stadium. So I like the opportunity cost with some of these Rockies bats as well. I'm sure Tapia and Story will look well, and McMahon at 3,500 on FanDuel kind of sticks out as a solid cleanup spot against Male.
Right. Yeah, that was the Jared Kelenic, and that's just one that's odd to me that he's still there, but it'll catch up at some point. Guys that are that cheap, I mean, he should be leading off today. Yes, Kelenic is. Kelenic is. The interesting thing is the Mariners were just screwing around with the service time so they could keep him for an extra year. That's the only reason he didn't break camp with the team. He's definitely one of the better prospects they've had in a long time. He should not be $2,000. That's one of those where, you don't want to put him in every lineup because you could easily go 0 for 4. However, having him in 30 or 40%, he's leading off. He's going to get 5 at bats, and he's an incredibly talented kid. Okay, that's worthwhile. I'll take the chance of going over. Same thing with Connor Joe is it's in Coors. It's a cheap discount to it. I'm willing to go over the field in that. When we have the slates where Mike Trout, especially like night slates and stuff, gets up to like 50, 60, 70%. At that point, you're just like, no, I'm good. I get it. We're going to have a Trout, we see Boggs Light tweeting Trout missile at some point, but it's one of those where I'm willing to play the leverage the other way. These guys are just too cheap and in too good of a spot, and there's too many other places to spend up. And with 20 teams in action tonight, we have plenty of ways to differentiate. So that's where I'm willing to go double the field for sure on those guys.
Right. And just to give Kelenic his respect, like the only reason he's in the same sentence as Connor Joe right now is because of the price. Kelenic's the number 4 prospect in all of baseball. So he should not be 2K. I had 100% of that yesterday. And really? Obviously that's an aggressive stance, but like when you're touted that high and you're leading off to get that many at bats to tap into your talents, like it was just too cheap. Like I I was kind of like that with Alex Kirilloff of the Twins a couple weeks ago, but he's not as highly prospected as Kelenic. Kelenic is the truth. I think his number 1 comp from a lot of the top scouts has been to Bryce Harper. So that's kind of the mindset with Kelenic for me is like, am I getting a 4K, even a 5K player right now for 2K? I think yes. So I'm just loading up on Kelenic as I can.
Yeah, and these situations don't in September they will when they do the September call-ups, or I'm not even sure how they're working the expanded rosters this year, but that we'll see more of this, and it's different. It's rare to see a couple guys on the slate like this, so you definitely want to take advantage of that one. Let's see. Our next one here. We got relatively good time, 4 games to go. So we got the Nationals at the Arizona Diamondbacks. The roof will be closed tonight. This one was kind of interesting. I'm a Nationals fan and a Mariners fan, and it was great. And I could say, I can root for the 2 teams, and I can be a two-team fan because they're the only 2 that have never been to the World Series. Well, the Nationals won the World Series, so I can't claim that anymore, but I still root for the Mariners. I grew up in the state of Washington, was actually at the first ever Mariner game back in 1977. Went there with my dad. So that was always fond memories there of that one. But the Nationals, they break my heart just as much. It's just in a better time zone. I couldn't stay up and see after they scored the 6 runs, so I went to bed. They ended up scoring 17. David Peralta came in and pitched the night. Yes, outfielder David Peralta came in and pitched the night. They had some they had somebody pinch hit and the Nationals did and ended up, I forget, they were like 2 for 2 and 3 RBI or something like that. Like everybody scored last night. While I don't think we get that again, we've got an interesting story, at least for our pitchers. So this is, do you know anything about Seth Frankoff?
Very little. I try to look up his minor league stuff.
Sit back. I got you on this one. All right. So he'll be 33 years old in August. He has a grand total of 4.2 innings in the majors. He has pitched in 6 different winter ball seasons between winter ball in Venezuela and the Dominican Republic. He pitched 2 years in the KBO for the Doosan Bears, and he pitched for 13 different minor league teams, including the Athletics, the Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Diamondbacks. Last year, he got 2 appearances with the Mariners, and he is here. He is. He's back in our lives. So target the hell out of him. There's a reason why he's 33, and this is going to be just his 4th ever major league appearance. He's the Crash Davis of minor league pitching. It's impressive. Oh, and he pitched 4 years in college too before he even got drafted. Poor guy just is not breaking through, but I love the determination. I also love the Nationals bats.
Yeah. I mean, Frankoff and Chacin both at 3,900, huh? That should probably tell us something on DraftKings. Yeah, no reason not to like the Nats here. The roof, I looked at the roof setting. It's closed to start the game, so they might pop the top open in the 5th inning and look at the stars because the scoreboard might be a little hard to look at. Yeah, I got nothing against Nats. Trey Turner, Soto, 2 of the higher owned guys in my pool right now, and then I'm with the Nats stack. Joe Ross is probably a little bit more interesting one here, right? What do you do with him? What do you do with the
I'm
D-backs?
not allowed. I pick him wrong every time. I recommend a target against him. He's good Joe Ross. I recommend to roll with him. He's bad Joe Ross. Never the twain shall meet. What do you want to do with Joe Ross?
I don't want to play him.
Yeah, that's my general default position is late slate only.
I say I don't want to play him. He is somehow holding a 26.4% K rate to lefty so far in the D-backs of all but 2 righties in this projected lineup. So maybe like all hell breaks loose and something crazy happens, but no reason for me to get to Joe Ross. But some D-backs bets maybe. Escobar here and there, David Peralta. I do have a nice exposure level to Van Meter. He doesn't hit for a great average or anything like that, but he is pretty cheap in the middle of a lineup of a game that should be the battle of 2 probably lackluster pitchers, and maybe these bullpens aren't shut down either. But yeah, I'm not running to the D-backs here, but it's one of those situations where like if I'm not playing Joe Ross, I'm not playing with the D-backs. So what do I think happens? Something's gonna happen, but I'm all over the Nats bats with you, and it sounds like with the rest of the world, yes. Nats are the top projected owned stack, but it's not even that egregious, right? 15%, I'd handle that on this slate.
Yeah, and this is one of those where this is not recency bias. I spent time talking about the pitcher. While admirable, the talent's just not there. So it's especially at the major league level. And in his 3 appearances for 4.2 innings, he was rocked. He survived his one in 2017 with the Cubs, but I think he gave up 2 home runs in his 2 appearances with the Mariners. I'm just going from memory there. So there's definitely someone we can target against. All right, we're making solid time here. Anything else you want to mention from this game?
From this game, no. I think we're all pretty much there on the Nats here, and the D-backs are just kind of cherry picking here. I don't really think I'm gonna land on 4. I don't even get my boy LeCastro to steal 5 bases.
Has he been caught yet, or is he still on that streak?
I'm not sure, but he is fast.
Yeah, he had something where he started his career with out of like 28 or 32 stolen bases without getting caught or whatever. So it was a major league record. So I just wondered if he had gotten caught yet. Reminder to everybody, we do have an excellent promo going on that is only going to last for the next 5 days. The promo code is Gold Rush. That will get you 25% off the 1-month Awesemo premium package if you're a new user. So the nice thing about that is we have all of the sports going on right now. Just today we've got MMA, we've got NHL, we've got NBA, we've got MLB, we've got tomorrow, we've got NASCAR, we have PGA going on right now, we've got all the esports, we got everything going on right now. It's the perfect time to jump in, grab that discount and run with it. If you play your cards right, you're going to make enough that you'll be able to become a regular subscriber, but we wanted you guys to have an opportunity here to jump on in at a bit of a discount. So again, that is promo code Gold Rush, all one word, and that will expire on the 20th. All righty then, let's look at, perfect. Adam Wainwright, Chris Paddock. This is a 7 implied run total for this game. That's pretty low. We're missing a lot of the key San Diego bats. Wow is all I can say for the top of their lineup. It's Trent Grisham. Okay, good. Tucupita, Marcy. My apologies. I'm not even going to get close to that one, but he's batting second. Jake Cronenworth is third. Tommy Pham, who can't hit the broadside of a barn at this point, gets a remember me game, batting cleanup. Austin Nola, Aaron's brother, who debuted as a 27 or 28-year-old rookie with the Mariners a year or two ago. He's there, and I haven't even mentioned their last 3 hitters. This is an incredibly watered down lineup. You talked about Waino being on your short list. He's having a resurgence with his curveball. I think the potential raised seams are treating him well of the baseball these days. His spin rate is the best it's been. And doesn't he turn 40 in August? So he's been around for a while as well. It feels like this is just pitching only for me today in this game.
Yeah, I'm a little. I don't know. Paddock has been hit or miss for me, but yeah, I'm with you on Wainwright, and it's pretty much because of how this Padres team is not the Padres team that we're excited for, right? No Tatis, no Myers, no Manny Machado. It's not great. If you look at just like isolated splits against righties, there's a lot of guys below the Mendoza line. And I'm not even necessarily playing Wainwright for strikeouts per se. I think they'll come when they come, but he's got one of the longest leashes on the slate. We've seen 100+ pitches out of him. And he might be an 8-inning, flirt with CG type of guy just because of this matchup. So I'm definitely with you on Wainwright, and he's right now my second highest owned pitcher. So I hope that doesn't come back to bite me. You talked about the pitching only, maybe Chris Paddock as an option here. So Paddock's ERA has been sitting right below 5. To his credit, it is above his Sierra and XFIP, so there is some positive progress. I call it progression, but positive regression coming his way. As the Sierra is right under 4, XFIP at 3.61. Definitely a guy that we expect to be a better pitcher long term. With that said, this is a Cardinals team that has a couple of tough bats to get around. Last night we saw it in Arenado, and they still have Paul Goldschmidt, Yadi Molina, some tough bats there. This lineup looks a little bit different in terms of strikeout potential. Yesterday they had a really, really low strikeout lineup, and today they have a really high strikeout lineup. Dylan Carlson, Goldie, Tyler O'Neill, Max Moroff, Harrison Bader, and Adam Wainwright. This might be like the highest, like if I grab 5 players from a team, this might be the highest collective strikeout average I've seen. So because of that, maybe Chris Paddock deserves late addition into my SP2 top, cap at 10% type of player pool, because there is definitely strikeout potential if he lives through Arenado and even Goldie and Yachty to an extent.
All right. I have. The hard part is I'm a fan of Paddock. I've got him in a few redraft leagues, in my a couple keeper leagues. He has just been so disappointing, basically all the way back into a lot of last season, and I'm expecting better, but it's been a rough road. For me, he's kind of a late slate, absolutely an SB2 on the late slate. On the main slates, I am getting 15%. The field, the last I looked, was at 30, so I'm coming in at half the field. I just think it's a decent enough matchup with the price. Everything's aligning, but I'd actually rather have Tristan McKenzie on my team, who's coming in a little bit or about the same price, in a tiny bit worse projected, but the field's on them about the same. So that's kind of where I am on that one. Anything else from this matchup?
No, this is it's the usual suspects on the Cardinals. I really don't see myself getting to any Padres. I guess the Padres being at an implied run total at 3.7, there's something in there, maybe a Cronenworth, but there's just like really no protection for names I would play. The Padres are one of the most aggressive teams on the bases. So if you are playing like a late slate, maybe you grab into some of these speedsters for multiple stolen bases. I think even Awesemo might still a bag here and there, but there's really not much I can do in terms of predictive analytics to project power in this starting matchup. So it really just be trying to snag a bag here and there and maybe help you out on that late slate. But I don't really see a main slate reason to get here.
See, why am well, I've got two sites up, and one has Manny Machado in and one doesn't. Let's see if I can find a tiebreaker third site here. I only mention that because the one site I'm looking at that has it incorrect, they don't always look at names very closely.
Yeah, no, Machado would definitely be important.
Sorry, it is not Machado. Okay, so if you're utilizing Fantasy Cruncher, you may want to go in and make that tweak. I will say I've run almost 200 lineups now, and I only have 2% of Machado, so he's really not coming in. You can get him out of there easy enough. It's a later game, but it does look like he is not in the lineup for that one. All righty, let's go one more. Oh, look at that. Super producer does have him in the lineup from a tweet here from the Pod Squad. So let's see, Grisham Machado. Okay, so I think the other site messed up the name and they went with Tupika or whatever his name was, because it's not him, it's Machado. My apologies for that, guys. Usually we don't see discrepancies like this when the lineups have already been announced for 20 minutes. But, there's a lot of sports going on these days. So occasionally it will happen, but just apologies for that little mishap there. Okay, the next one. So now I need to hear your take on Tristan McKenzie. I sort of hinted at it, but I think he's in that mix for SP2. I love him on the late slate. I think he is in the lineups where if you're going away from Bauer, which on the late slate is not a bad idea, or at least to go a little under the field. But if you pair Wainwright and McKenzie, you can get some of the different hitters that you want, and you may be able to build a better lineup from the Washington guys. That's going to be kind of a key here. So while I'm not saying don't play Bauer, and he is going to be in 60% of my main slate teams, in the late slate, sometimes we got to be a little bit different. Generally, those are only 2, 3, or 4 games. So, and on DK where you have to play 2 pitchers, there's a little more game theory into this. FanDuel, I'd probably just ride with Bauer. But what do you think about Tristan McKenzie going against the Mariners with the 4.2 implied run total here?
McKenzie, I mean, we talked about how like Chris Paddock has been underperforming. McKenzie's advanced metrics are actually bad, like really not good so far. 23 innings of sample size, so maybe he gets better and he gets closer to what he looked like last year. But last year we only had 29 innings total, and now we're at 23. So we're almost getting there. So maybe somewhere in the middle is where Tristan McKenzie should be. A 509 Sierra so far, a 513 xFIP, a 161 whip, and a 21% walk rate. I mean, that's a problem. And I think because of how much Jared Kelenic I'm probably likely to have, I probably just won't have that much McKenzie. But I definitely sense that I'm not so much on an island, but I've heard a lot of people come at me with McKenzie today. I think it's just kind of a safety blanket to, I don't know who to pitch to SP2. Let me go after the Mariners, which is fine. It's worked. Like, so I don't know. I just hate when I roster guys that metrically don't line up with my like analytics, and I just don't believe in these numbers that I'm looking at. And on top of Jared Kelenic, like Mitch Haniger's one of the league leaders in homers. Seager's starting to turn it on a little bit. Like this Mariners, the top of this Mariners lineup is not something that like I really think is that horrendous. Obviously, they're not great. The bottom tanks out pretty quickly, but I wish McKenzie had better numbers to make me feel a little bit better. So I'd almost put Paddock over McKenzie based on the matchup, based on the metrics, but I don't like. I understand why people are on McKenzie. If these metrics this year look more like 2020, the Sierra xFIP, the swing strike rate's still there. If that walk rate comes down a little bit, Sure, and this is definitely a Mariners team that doesn't take a ton of walks. Lewis, Marmolejos, Dylan Moore, Tom Murphy, all striking out almost 30% plus. Like it's kind of a fire and ice, unstoppable force, immovable object type of thing. Something's got to give. So I understand McKenzie. If you're playing him, do you expect over 20 fantasy points?
No, I'm kind of right around that range.
Yeah, okay. So
that's all I want from an SP2. But for me, it's the potential strikeout upside. I'm just looking at his individual game logs. 6 games. How many games do you think he has less than 4 walks?
1?
1. He has 4 walks in 5 games and 2 in the other. That adds up to, doing the math, 22 walks in 23 and 2/3 innings. Yikes.
Yeah, that's scary. And at the same time, like his K percentage is through the roof.
Nuke LaLoosh, 12 walked batters, new league record, 12 strikeouts, also a new league record, and he hit the ball twice.
So and even if he has his walk problem and he doesn't get blown up, it's still wasted pitches because it's usually not 4-pitch walks. Maybe it's like a 6-7 pitch walk, and he's just wasting bullets to be firing out. So even that might diminish his upside, even if the Mariners can't capitalize and leave a small village on base. Doesn't necessarily mean that McKenzie drops 25. So if McKenzie, if he rose in ownership right now, was he at 25%? If I want to get different than 1 in 4 lineups, I right now he's not even in my player pool, and that just might be enough for me to be different versus the field.
Nice. I admire that. It's baseball. Weird stuff happens. I'll say it countless times this year and countless times next year and countless times in the past. Pitchers are going to be good a third of their games. They're just going to have the stuff. The ball is going to be located. It's going to be everything they want. Third of the games, it's going to suck. Something's not working, and you're not going to know why. It's the other 10 that really make the difference between the aces and the guys that go back down to AAA. It's what can you do when your stuff's not doing exactly what you want it to do, and you never know when that's going to happen. I mean, we see guys like Scherzer and Kluber and those guys have dominant stretches, and then it disappears for a game or something happens. The old Steven Strasburg when he's sweaty, it's bad. And we've done the math on that. It's not the case. I still don't want to play him when it's hot, but
yeah,
just saying, perspires like a madman. Him and Patrick Ewing, although half the chat hasn't seen Patrick Ewing would sweat buckets. He was a crazy guy there. All right, that kind of hits this game. Final game, we still don't have a. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I didn't want to brush off. Like Justice Sheffield does allow a lot of power to righties. Jordan Luplow batting second. I think 2 through 4 of the Indians looks pretty dirty for going against an average at best lefty. Luplow, Ramirez, Franmil Reyes, all guys that should project pretty well for power.
All right, so we're waiting on Miami. I don't have an official starting pitcher yet. They didn't know who their starter was going to be.
I believe it's Jordan Holloway.
We're seeing it's Holloway. It would be his regular day of rest. He pitched on the 10th. The start before that, he pitched on the 5th. So that makes sense. It's just it hasn't officially been announced. Now, that being said, don't let that stop you from taking the Dodgers bats. They're perfectly adept at going against righties or lefties. It's most likely going to be a righty tonight or a bullpen game if it is in fact not Jordan Holloway. So that shouldn't change your outlook on the Dodgers. What it may change is, what are you going to do with Miami now? Because we don't have their hitters yet. Now, the answer to that is they're playing Trevor Bauer. Now, while Bauer does give up some home runs because he will challenge hitters, maybe Dickerson or Duvall or Jesus Aguilar runs into one, but you're not going to want to play more than one of them on a main slate lineup, in my opinion. So that we don't have that lineup yet, that's perfectly fine. That's not an issue. How strongly do you feel about Bauer with Miami coming in with just a 2.7 implied run total? They have a minus 300 money line for the Dodgers getting the win, and it is going to be in the upper 50s tonight in Chavez Ravine.
Yeah, Bauer's number one option on the slate tonight. Even Kershaw gave up 4 or 5 earnings yesterday. He still turned into be a pretty decent fantasy play. So I kind of expect Bauer to be another solid play here. Again, no confirmed Marlins lineup, but I think it's fine. I saw a quote from Donnie Baseball that Holloway was his starter. So I think we're pretty safe in projecting Holloway as the starter. But I'm not going to play Holloway. It really didn't matter who they started. I probably wasn't going to play him. But it does.
Even on the late slate, you start looking at that Dodgers lineup and you're like, wasn't that guy an all-star? Oh, that guy won the MVP. Oh, that guy did. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Dodger stacks. I mean, this is one of those just talent stacks. You don't even have to essentially know who they're going against, like Bat, Seager, Turner, Muncy. I mean, when Cody Bellinger comes back, this is it's not fair. So Dodger stacks in play for me, and then Trevor Bauer's easily my SP1 highest owned, but it looks like that's the field. It's not a secret. We got him at what, 50%. At least. So I don't want to walk in with less than 50%. I'll try and get myself maybe 15-20% leverage. So I might even end up with 70 to 75% of Bauer and just kind of shuffle the deck of cards with the rest of the pitchers. And then, Dodgers would be one of the options for me. And I think stack wise, we don't have them projected to be that egregious. I'm looking at 3%. Is that what you see? So kind of like how I feel with the Blue Jays. Like, these are really good teams that you don't have to do much to say you have them and also not be, giving away many of your lineups, right? 100, 150 lineups to have 6% Dodgers and be double the field. You don't feel terrible no matter what the results are. And the same with the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are at 1.2%. Like, yeah, give me 5 lineups with the Blue Jays and 150 and see what happens.
Yeah, and that the Blue Jays one is an interesting. Terry broke down in his free leverage article that's in front of the paywall every day. He broke down why the Blue Jays are an interesting play today, just because they're not going to be owned by the public, and that you don't have to do much to get over where they are. But he broke down how each hitter fared against Nola's pitch type and things like that. So he went really in depth on that one. It's worth a read there. That's going to do it. We are at 9:00. Lock is in 5 minutes. We are going to get on out of here, but I do want to say we have all sorts of shows for you guys tomorrow on this same channel, the Awesemo YouTube channel. So definitely like this video. We appreciate that, but subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when we are going live. We start off tomorrow at 11 with the MLB strategy show. That will be myself and Max at at I'm jumped ship there. At noon, we have the NBA Live Before Lock for the early main slate. And then at 5, we have the NBA Deeper Dive. And at 6, we have the NBA Live Before Lock for that gigantic main late slate, the second main slate of the day. So we got everything covered for you. Gundacker, where can they follow you?
Twitter.com/Gundacker.
There we go. Well, with that, we want to thank everybody for watching. Shout out to producer Chris for taking care of us. And promo code GOLDRUSH gets you 25% off a 1-month package of Awesemo All Access. With that, gamers, good luck.